Good morning. This is Saturday, and welcome to Story Time. Again, this is Ron. Welcome to Story Time. This is Saturday, July the 1st. So we've got the first of a new month, and I'm still using the new microphone I used last week, but I've made certain adjustments, so I'm hoping to avoid some of the pops and clicks that we encountered last week. Okay, so we're doing the 48 Laws of Power, and I'm reading today Law 14, and the title of that is Pose as a Friend, Work as a Spy. Knowing about your rival is critical. Use spies to gather valuable information that will keep you a step ahead. Better still, play the spy yourself. In polite social encounters, learn to probe. Ask indirect questions to get people to reveal their weaknesses and intentions. There is no occasion that is not an opportunity for artful spying. In the realm of power, your goal is a degree of control over future events. Part of the problem you face then is that people won't tell you all their thoughts, emotions, and plans. Controlling what they say, they often keep the most critical parts of their character hidden, their weaknesses, ulterior motives, obsessions. The result is that you cannot predict their moves and are constantly in the dark. The trick is to find a way to probe them, to find out their secrets and hidden intentions without letting them know what you are up to. This is not as difficult as you might think. A friendly front will let you secretly gather information on friends and enemies alike. Let others consult the horoscope or read tarot cards. You have more concrete means of seeing into the future. The most common way of spying is to use other people. The method is simple, powerful, but risky. You will certainly gather information, but you will have little control over the people who are doing the work. Perhaps they will ineptly reveal your spying or even secretly turn against you. It is far better to be the spy yourself, to pose as a friend while secretly gathering information. The French politician Talleyrand was one of the greatest practitioners of this art. He had an uncanny ability to worm secrets out of people in polite conversation. A contemporary of his, a baron, wrote, "Wit and grace mark his conversation. He possesses the art of concealing his thoughts or his malice beneath a transparent veil of insinuations, words that imply something more than they express. Only when necessary did he inject his own personality." The key here is Talleyrand's ability to suppress himself in the conversation, to make others talk endlessly about themselves, and inadvertently reveal their intentions and plans. Throughout Talleyrand's life, people said he was a superb conversationalist. Yet he actually said very little. He never talked about his own ideas. He got others to reveal theirs. He would organize friendly games of charades for foreign diplomats, social gatherings where, however, he would carefully weigh their words, cajole confidences out of them, and gather information invaluable to his work as France's foreign minister. At the Congress of Vienna, he did his spying in other ways. He would blurt out what seemed to be a secret, actually something he had made up, then watch for his listeners' reactions. He might tell a gathering of diplomats, for instance, that a reliable source had revealed to him that the Tsar of Russia was planning to arrest his top general for treason. By watching the diplomats' reactions to this made-up story, he would know which ones were most excited by the weakening of the Russian army. Perhaps their governments had designs on Russia? As Baron von Stetten said, Monsieur Talleyrand fires a pistol into the air to see who will jump out of the window. During social gatherings and innocuous encounters, pay attention. This is when people's guards are down. By suppressing your own personality, you can make them reveal things. The brilliance of the maneuver is that they will mistake your interest in them for friendship, so that you not only learn, you make allies. Nevertheless, you should practice this tactic with caution and care. If people begin to suspect that you are worming secrets out of them under the cover of conversation, they will strictly avoid you. Emphasize friendly chatter, not valuable information. Your search for gems of information cannot be too obvious, or your probing questions will reveal more about yourself and your intentions than about the information you hope to find. A trick to try in spying comes from a Frenchman who wrote, "Sincerity is found in very few men, and is often the cleverest of ruses. One is sincere in order to draw out the confidence and secrets of the other. By pretending to bare your heart to another person, In other words, you make them feel more likely, you make them more likely to reveal their own secrets. Give them a false confession, and they will give you a real one. Another trick was identified by the philosopher Schopenhauer, who suggested vehemently contradicting people you're in conversation with as a way of irritating them, stirring them up so they will lose some of the control over their words. In their emotional reaction, they will reveal all kinds of truths about themselves, truths you can later use against them. Another method of indirect spying is to test people, to lay little traps that make them reveal things about themselves. There was a clever 7th century king of Persia that had many ways of seeing through his subjects without raising suspicion. If he noticed, for instance, that 2 of his courtiers had become particularly friendly, he would call one of them aside and say he had information that the other was a traitor and would soon be killed. The king would tell the courtier he trusted him more than anyone and that he must keep this information secret. Then he would watch the 2 men carefully. If he saw that the second courtier had not changed in his behavior toward the king, he would conclude that the first courtier had kept the secret, and he would quickly promote the man, later taking him aside to confess, "I meant to kill your friend because of certain information that had reached me, but when I investigated the matter, I found it was untrue." If, on the other hand, the second courtier started to avoid the king, acting aloof and tense, the king would know that the secret had been revealed. He would ban the second courtier from his court, letting him know that the whole business had only been a test, but that even though the man had done nothing wrong, he could no longer trust him. The first courtier, however, had revealed a secret, and him the king would ban from his entire kingdom. It may seem an odd form of spying that reveals not only empirical information, but a person's character. Often, however, it is the best way of solving problems before they arise. By tempting people into certain acts, you learn about their loyalty, their honesty, and so on. And this kind of knowledge is often the most valuable of all. Armed with it, you can predict their actions in the future. Information is critical to power, but just as you spy on other people, you must be prepared for them to spy on you. One of the most potent weapons in the battle for information, then, is giving out false information. As Winston Churchill said, truth is so precious that she should always be attended by a bodyguard of lies. You must surround yourself with such a bodyguard so that your truth cannot be penetrated. By planting the information of your choice, you control the game. In 1944, the Nazis' rocket bomb attacks on London suddenly escalated. Over 2,000 V-1 flying bombs fell on the city, killing more than 5,000 people and wounding many more. Somehow, however, the Germans had consistently missed their targets. Bombs that were intended for Tower Bridge or Piccadilly would fall well short of the city, landing in the less populated suburbs. This was because, in fixing their targets, the Germans relied on secret agents they had planted in England. They did not know that these agents had been discovered, and that in their place, English-controlled agents were feeding them subtly deceptive information. The bombs would hit farther and farther from their targets every time they fell. By the end of the campaign, they were landing on cows in the country. By feeding people wrong information, then, you gain a potent advantage. While spying gives you a third eye, disinformation puts out one of your enemy's eyes. A cyclops, he always misses the target. And again, that was Law 14, and it was pose as a friend, work as a spy. And again, it's one of these laws that seems to have really very little real-life application unless you happen to be a king or a courtier or a government minister of some sort. For the average person, for the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, I don't see much that you can use here. I was thinking about it myself in terms of, is this something that I could use in a work setting with my boss or with coworkers, or is this something that I could use with business associates? And I just don't see it happening. I think if you're already in a position of power, such as a king or a president or something like that, then perhaps this information becomes valuable. But that if you're like most of us, you're just a regular Joe, then the information is entertaining, but rather useless. So that was Law 14, and tomorrow on July 2nd, Sunday, I will be reading Law 15, called Crush Your Enemy Totally. All great leaders since Moses have known that a feared enemy must be crushed completely. Sometimes they have learned this the hard way. If one ember is left alight, no matter how dimly it smolders, a fire will eventually break out. More is lost through stopping halfway than through total annihilation. The enemy will recover and will seek revenge. Crush him, not only in body, but in spirit. And so that concludes today's episode of Storytime. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you tomorrow.